Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gregg Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Call this meeting to order with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with public comment. First, we have Thomas District.
That's for later. I didn't know it was on the paper.
Tibbin.
Stand up and maybe. Tibbin Zerby, just wanted to see if there was any update on the Penn Corps holding the Bob and Jill Becker conditional use application in August.
Was my understanding.
We just haven't received anything in writing yet, and we want to continue to move forward with the process, so. That was it.
We'll get something for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
What was their last name?
Decker.
Decker.
Move on to liaison report, solicitor report.
I don't have anything other than what's on the agenda.
Emergency management coordinator.
Yeah, I spent 3 days at seminars on emergency management, 2 days up at Top Trees. We went over the Pennsylvania pipeline emergency response, finding help in disaster strikes, group discussion with the FEMA director, protected critical infrastructure information, that was from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, meth manufacturing awareness. We had a guy from Pennsylvania State Police there. Traffic operations technology from the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And second day was we went over the Creation Festival in, I don't know what county that was in, over at Corbusonia, Huntington County. When they had that disaster hit, there was high winds and had a lot of problems. They had the Huntington County EMA there. National Weather Service update. We had a guy from the National Weather Service and PA Hart update, integrating drones into disaster response plans, readiness training and identification. That's from New Mexico Department of Homeland Security, B-25 radio projects. I also went to a seminar in State College on the 24th, pipeline emergency response and damage protection. And I'm still taking some classes and courses, but that's my
Fire company.
Nothing given, no.
The garden tractor pools are this Saturday, and bingo is the following Saturday. And the chief said to thank everyone for the turnout for the gun raffle. Old Gregg School.
Yeah, Carol Gingrich could not be here tonight, but she gave me some information to pass along, and I'll read what she gave me. She said, as of October 1st, we have 31 vendors sign up for the December 7th Winter Craft Fair. That might be updated. Is it 33 or something like that now? Or
36.
36, okay. The craft fair will run from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on December 7th. We're looking for donations of hot dogs, 2 5-pound boxes, preferably Martin's hot dogs, and 10 packages of hot dog rolls, 8 to a package. Hamburger barbecue, 10 pounds, and 12 packages of hamburger rolls, 8 to a package. Miscellaneous baked goods, bottled water, 2 cases, canned soda, 2 cases, regular and diet. All donations for the craft fair can be dropped off the morning of the fair or by making arrangements with any advisory board member. The advisory board would like to work in conjunction with the Board of Supervisors to define what items belong to the Old Gregg School and what items belong to other tenants of the Old Gregg School and frequent users of the kitchen. We are noticing damage being done to the walls of the gym. Much of this damage is coming from those renting the gym or coming in playing basketball or volleyball. Most of the damage is about 4 feet up in the walls. We are looking for a product which might stop some of that. Any help from the Board of Supervisors or members of Gregg Township would be greatly appreciated. We're looking for you to support us in allowing the Nittany Valley Model Railroad Club to install, at their expense, a TV which will only be in operation when they're in their room working. This way the community can see what they're doing and maybe they'll stop down and talk with them. Okay, that's Carol's report. Physical plant manager. The heat will be turned on in here over the weekend. It should be on now, I guess, but over the weekend. The front and side steps of the Old Gregg School are going to be sealed with concrete or the concrete will be sealed on Monday. We will be scheduling floor waxing in November. And that's all I have to report for the physical plant manager. Operation manager? Is there
Pam,
anything?
anything you want to add?
Nothing new.
No?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to discuss the Nittany Valley Model Railroad TV?
Well, they had an idea that they would hang a TV in the lobby of the Old Gregg School, and then when they're down there working on the model railroad, they can have it running, and people who walk by can view the model railroad from the lobby and maybe come down. They'd like to get some new members, and they're thinking this might be a way to do it. The TV, it's their TV, so they only hang it in the lobby when they're there. Otherwise, it's not going to be there. It's connected wirelessly, I understand. So that's what I know
They're going
about
to
it.
hang it on the wall,
Well,
so removing and putting it up every time they're in there?
yeah, I think what they might do is put some hooks somewhere, just hang it on there, and when they leave, take it with them. That's their idea. I don't know if we need to approve that, really, do we? Or should we?
They're going to be putting something on the wall or from the ceiling to hang it, I think we should have a motion.
Okay, well, okay.
Or discussion on what that,
Well, newer TVs are pretty light. I would say just a few hooks on the bulletin board that runs, down the hallway.
Would you be involved with that at all, Jim?
Could be. Like I said, when they talked about it, I know they were gonna take full responsibility on it. And I don't know if they were gonna put the TV mount up, or how they were gonna mount it, that wasn't discussed.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how they want to do it, only because I don't want somebody having a TV fall on them and then that be an issue.
I think they'd be better off to put a mount.
Yeah,
like
either a
this.
mount or if they wanted to set a TV for the few hours that they're there on the, the stand or something out there, might even be simpler, but I just don't want them hooking and hanging, especially from the.
Well, this isn't a big TV. I mean, this is,
I know,
okay, all right, okay.
there's lots of kids that come through and,
Well, yeah. Well, do you want to conditionally approve this pending their meeting and,
I would be fine approving it if you're involved and you make sure that it's
Yeah, like I said, I
sturdy.
don't know how they're gonna mount it. They didn't really discuss that. They said about just put it in the lobby, so. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
well, then I'll make the motion, we conditionally approve the Model Railroad Club putting a TV in the lobby provided the mounting is secure.
with Jim Smith.
Jim being
But
involved.
with Jim supervising. Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Code agency, I don't believe we received a report yet this month.
I did not.
Can you email him tomorrow?
I already sent him one this evening.
EMS?
The EMS board met last evening. Staffing problems continue, unfortunately. A couple of our staff members are working approximately 60 hours a week to keep the facility 24/7. There is approximately one volunteer a month, so volunteers are in very, very short supply. I would remind the supervisors that all three of you are invited, and I pray you will be there. The December 4th meeting with J.R. Henry, the consultant that the auxiliary has paid for, so that each township has a voice, as well as the boroughs, into how the EMS may or may not be restructured, especially because additional tax dollars are being asked to support the EMS. The biggest issue I would headline for you will be the interplay between volunteers who traditionally ran the service, who without them the service wouldn't exist today, the interplay between staff, and then how the municipalities wish to inject themselves into the supervision and the control of the financial aspects of that service to the community. There's a couple of nuggets that J.R. Henry did give us, and just a little background for the folks that are here. He is a consultant. He has a great deal of experience as a supervisor, I believe, or in some type of governmental capacity, working then with the EMS to bridge the gap, especially in rural areas such as ours. He did note that to break even, just based on current bill structure, we would have to respond to 1,200 calls a year. Right now, unfortunately, but in the financial aspect for them, we're averaging around 840 a year. So you can see the vast divide there. And since billing, as you know, is controlled by the legislature, there's only so much that can be billed for. Yes,
Those
sir.
840 calls, are they with transport, or they're reimbursed?
Not all are with transport. And that's a very good question, because we don't get reimbursed without transport. Now, there is legislation that says that we should be able to cover for it, but it's the first time up. And usually there's always challenges to new statutes. The other aspect of it is, in our community, the heaviest users are Medicaid users. So you have Medicaid for folks that don't have adequate coverage. Then you have Medicare, which is something that in our working years we pay into as part of a tax-paying citizen from our employment taxes, as well as the employer sharing half of that. Unless you're a sole proprietor, you're all there. And then you have your own financial savings, or your own insurance plans, or long-term care insurance. But in our area, the predominant users of the ambulance are Medicaid users. And because of that, since what happens is it's a federal program, but every state runs their own program. And so the state sets the rate at which Medicaid users are billed for the insurance. So if I, who have private insurance, had to take the ambulance, my fare would be, the statutory custom rate. But if I were a Medicaid user, it would be lower based on the needs of you as a Medicaid user. It's essentially part of the social contract. We need to take care of the people less fortunate than ourselves. So it's a good program, it's an important program, but in communities such as ours that have aging populations and not as much volume of calls, unlike State College, we aren't able to essentially generate the income to support a 24/7 service. Therefore, we have the membership drag. There are approximately 6,000 mailboxes in Penn Valley. If every single family, whether it's the $55 individual rate or the $75 or the $70 family rate, for every single person in your household, if every single person purchased a membership, this wouldn't be an issue. It's essentially a way of having a per capita tax without a tax. So when you're talking to your friends, when you're talking at church, when you're doing whatever you're doing in everyday life in our community, please remind your friends and family to purchase that. Essentially what happens is you pay $70, and if I get billed for insurance that is $5,000 for the ride, but I have that $70 membership, and my insurance only covers $3,000, EMS eats the $2,000. So you're not paying for a free ride, but you're paying the difference between the insurance and what you're actually getting covered and the fare. So, it's not a free service, it's not built to be that way, and it used to be that way because of volunteers, but since we don't have any, our largest expense, like in any business, is payroll and taxes and insurance. So, that brings us back to J.R. Henry. Please come. Have a voice for Gregg Township. And then for call volume, there were 70 calls in the valley. Gregg Township is almost always second place as far as volume. This past month we had 13. Potter Township always leads. Last month they had 23. Any questions? They did finalize a budget, and the Haynes Township has contributed their equivalent of $500,000, which is $16,000. They wrote a very nice letter, provided that money to EMS, stated their only condition was they wanted an audit separate from our current accounting. Not that that's a disparagement at all, they just wanted a checks and balance on it. I recommended John Foreman at Integrity Accounting to keep the services in the valley, because I think he would do a wonderful job and have a fair rate versus, going outside and having this big elaborate thing done by someone that may not even explain the report to us. I think John would take care of that. And then I provided the budget, and I was informed that it was shared. Please review it before the December 4th meeting, because I think that will be a large discussion as well.
Is that at 7 o'clock, aren't
6:30.
6:30.
And I gave all of my materials so you guys can review the minutes and everything from EMS as well if you wish. Don't mind my doodles.
Regional Planning Commission finally did meet in September, September 16th. Basically, we discussed EMS issue as always. We had a presentation on solar energy by a local gentleman who's been working with Milheim. So he presented to the whole Regional Planning Commission. We had an update from the Tom Zilla at the Metropolitan Planning Organization. He gave us an update on the larger projects like 322, the Potter's Mills. And I believe that was pretty much it.
I have a few highlights I'd like to mention. Tom Zilla was talking about the Potter's Mills Gap project. He said it's going well, but due to relocation of utilities, the contractor has resorted to overtime shifts. The 4-lane section of this project will be completed in 2020, and the work on the 2-lane parallel local access roadway will continue to 2021. And there are a few more little tidbits here. Zilla updated the commissioner of the project. He stated that the section of Route 45 from the Meadows Clinic to Old Fort will be repaved next spring. The project will include some minor drainage work and will start in April 2020. Zilla stated that he requested that there be no lane closures in place until 8:30 a.m. The afternoon peak drive time will have lane closures. There's something in here about bridges. That's all I have.
Planning Commission did not meet this month due to lack of a quorum. We will meet next month. Tri-Municipal Park.
I'd just like to make a couple comments, and we have a guest here tonight to give you an update from his perspective on the park. We've completed a lot of work the last month or so. The disc golf course is now all ready to go as far as playing, and there'll be a signpost and so forth to show that here directly. We also seeded 9 acres of partly a grass mix, it'll be what we call a run-mow mix. We don't have to mow frequently. And we also planted about 6 acres of what we call Penn Prairie mix. This has some warm season and forbs and so forth in the mixture. This will be visible from the park itself. And the Fish and Wildlife Service no-till drill was used to plant that. I'm hoping it's showing green now. I haven't been up this week, but I'm hoping it's starting to show green because we went through a real dry period there and we were concerned about that. So we've gotten some seeding done. We've gotten the golf course really ready to play. And what we're really doing now is looking ahead. We'd like to finish that first quadrant, which included the pavilion, the playground, volleyball courts, some more parking, and some more trails. So we kind of come up with a plan, and I'm going to use Paul here in a minute, but one thing I want to say, we found that having professionals help you, just like you're talking about, professionals who help you folks, has given us a big boost in terms of moving forward with the park. And Brian Almond, who is a landscape architect and works extensively with DCNR, DCED, and the other funding agencies, got us through this first round of funding. And right now he's working on finalizing a proposal whereby we can get 2 grants which will match to some extent each other, and then we can use that as sort of a boost to move us forward in fundraising. And this will happen. I'm not sure if it's all going to happen next year or not, but when this happens, we should have that first quadrant pretty well, all those things in place. So that's kind of an optimistic thing. Paul, that has been chosen as a sort of a fundraising person, but he's become much more than that. He and Brian are working together to match fundraising with the grants that we want to apply for and so forth. So, and Paul came to us with recommendations from other folks that we knew in the community and so forth. So with that, I'll turn it over to Paul, and certainly if you have any questions on, on that aspect, feel free to ask Paul.
Thanks.
And you started, what, in April?
That's what I was trying to remember.
It was something. I know, I saw we initially had the minutes of January, and I know it was
Yeah, I think it was April.
It was probably April or May.
So I'll just take a couple minutes to tell you what I've been doing, and then you guys can answer any questions, or ask any questions you might have. So I was contracted by Joel and the Tri-Municipal Park Group to do what we call in the fundraising world a feasibility study, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So I've spent the last 3 or 4 months going out and talking to some folks that were identified by Joel and the board as people who would be potentially interested in making financial contributions, charitable contributions to support the park. Because part of my job is to be able to come back to Joel and those guys and say, hey, here's what I think you can do fundraising wise, here's the best way to do it. So I've gotten some pretty good data. I think people are generally supportive of the concept, but a lot of times with projects like this, it comes down to people actually seeing it in use. So as I've told Joel and the board, I think that's where you're going to have your real fundraising success, private fundraising success, when you have kids out there running around using it and people are using it and they see that it's an active part. So I've kind of been working with them and really closely with Brian to talk about how we can go after some of the state money that's available through DCD and what's the other DCD and I was getting confused. DCNR.
Yeah.
They have money that they're giving out to groups to do things like this, and they've been very supportive of the park so far, and Brian has a good relationship with those guys, so he feels good about what he might be able to do with them in the coming years. That's the only drawback of dealing with a state institution or state organization like that. It takes time. The grant process takes a year, and then you got to have another bit of time to get the money, get working through it. So, we're still talking about a couple of years before, you really see significant, steps from the park now. But that also, and the thing I've been talking to Brian and these guys about is that money, there's a matching piece of these grants that you get from the state that says, you can raise X, we'll give you, 2X or 3X or whatever it happens to be. So that's where we can really do some good work fundraising wise, when you can go to a donor and say, hey, your dollar really means $2 or $5 or whatever the match happens to be. So that's kind of what I've been talking to them about. I will be submitting to them a written report here in the next month or so. There's still some people I'd like to talk to that are, significant players in the community, influencers, so to speak, that will have some, some impact on whether or not there can be substantial money, private money raised for it. So, but the plan I will sort of submit will be a long-term 2 or 3 year plan that says, here's what you can do before you get the state money, here's what you can do once you get the state money, and then here's what you can do after. There isn't going to be, I don't see there being $1 million capital campaign where you go to the community and get $1 million. It just doesn't, as you alluded to before. Raising money is hard. There's a lot of organizations competing for money. It sounds easy to just send a letter and ask people for money. There's people get letters every day from organizations like EMS or the fire company or whoever it happens to be, who frankly have a more compelling case than a park. So as a park, you've got to be able to show people that your kids are using it, and their families are benefiting from it, their kids are benefiting from it, their grandkids are benefiting from it. So that's really where you have to be before you can start to do any kind of significant. But I'm really encouraged by the stuff with Brian and the state grants. He really knows his way around those things. He feels really good about what that can do and how that can boost the park. And so again, it's patience always in these things. I know you guys have been dealing with this for a long time, but for me it's only been 6 months, so it feels to me like there's been a lot of progress made. And I think you'll see even more in the next couple of years. Any questions for me specifically? Generally? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. The current plan, just a comment, the current plan that we're discussing with Brian and Paul right now, it would almost be like a 9-to-1 match. In other words, for $9 of grant money, we would have to spend $1. It's in that neighborhood.
We
Somehow,
have to raise $1.
Pardon?
We have to raise $1.
We had to raise $1 for every $9 in the grant. But somehow Brian knows how this works, where you can get 2 grants, and they both tend to be used as funds to support the other one. And this is something they do, and this is what Brian knows and is guiding us on. So that's pretty important to know when you can do something like that. And I don't even know if the EMS has any potential for helping you get
We don't have a
matching
grant
money.
writer.
But there's a lot of tricks out there for the people that know how to do it. So, and we're thankful Paul's with us. So thank you.
No problem.
Thank you too.
I just wanted to mention one thing. Paul mentioned that it's important to have things on the ground, and construction of the story walk begins tomorrow. So that will be something else that's on the ground pretty soon, by early November, I think. That's all.
I don't know if people know what that is, but.
Well, it's a series of 20 stations along a trail, and it's mainly for kids. They walk to one station, they read the story, and then they walk to the next one, and they read the story, and it goes on for about 20 stops, I guess. There are 20 stanchions or little kiosks like that. So tomorrow, a group is going to start putting in those little stanchions or kiosks.
At no cost to the park either.
No,
There's some
no,
volunteer
no.
support, there's no cost to the park.
Center County Library is funding this, sponsoring it. So that's all I have to say.
Report from water and sewer. You didn't have anything to report, correct?
Other than, he said there was a question last month about the status of the pump station and the forest main running from the PV school campus and the GTSA collection systems. The force main is completed with the exception of a few punch list items. The pump station has not been started with the exception of the electrical service, which is partially completed. The pump station is awaiting components which need to be on hand when it is put in operation. Components are anticipated to arrive by the end of November, and completion is expected in early December. Work is under the direction of the PVA-SD's engineer.
We need to make a motion. They recommended appointing, is it Roy Thompson?
Roy.
I think it's Roy.
Gregg.
Roy Thompson.
Roy.
For the water board.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Do you know what the term is, by chance?
What's the term for the
I
water?
don't know myself.
Is Mr. Thompson taking over?
No,
For
it's gonna
someone?
be a director.
This is his.
Okay.
This is for Steve
Okay.
Taking
McKeeson.
over, we had
Steve's.
a fella that had an accident, and he was on our board.
Okay.
And I don't want anybody to forget about him, because he did a hell of a lot for this township. And we're gonna replace that person with this guy.
Okay.
Yep.
Forgive me, what was that person's name?
Neil Roy Thompson is his full name.
The prior
Oh,
board member?
Dale Musser,
Oh, Dale Musser.
yeah.
Okay. So what you should, the motion should be to appoint Mr. Thompson to fill out the remainder of Mr. Musser's term. And then at the reorganization meeting, everyone should be back on track. But, they're supposed to have staggered terms.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make that motion to appoint Roy Thompson to fill out Gail Musser's term. That you needed.
Second here.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Secretary Treasurer's report. I'll entertain a motion to approve the September 12, 2019 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to accept and approve the all funds financial report.
I'll make that motion.
I haven't seen it.
I even sent it to you. Yeah, send it to everybody.
Okay, I didn't read my emails. All right. Well,
Let me go down and get it.
I'll make a motion to approve it, if you made the motion, Greg. All right, I was going to add on a condition on there that if I found anything when I was reading it, that we could go back and cover that. I'll second the motion. I'll second the motion for the financial report, though I haven't seen it yet.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimous.
Well, read it.
Yeah, I will.
If you
Yes.
see any problems, you can put it on it can be on the agenda next
Okay,
month.
thank you.
Revise and then.
I appreciate that.
And express messages.
I spoke to Doug from Town Express Messaging. They were not able to come to one of our meetings. They say it's too far out. So I said to them if they could send us any other information, and they said they could do a video conference. I said I didn't know if that would work, but I would bring it to you guys.
In the office someday, that's
Yes.
the idea.
This information.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thinking of advertising. I think you need to advertise.
Thanks. If we're not discussing it, if they're just presenting information to us,
Yeah, that's true. I assume we'll discuss.
we wouldn't discuss it until the next meeting.
Yeah, we would make no decisions that meeting.
Unless we can get them to do that during one of our meetings. We could discuss that and
Yeah.
advertise it.
Yeah.
We have budget meetings advertised scheduled for October 29th, 30th, November 6th, and 7th. Members will not be available for those October meetings, so we will hold the November 6th and 7th meeting. And hopefully we get it all done in this. Do you have the budgets for,
Yes, I have them back in the office for you guys.
make sure you pick up your budget packet so you can start reviewing it before then. Anything else for the Secretary Treasurer? Anything else you have? Right to know report is attached. Any comments on that? Roadmaster's report.
I guess since last time we were here, we put some stone down on Lingle Valley. We got better than halfway done there. We got things lined up and poured the pad for our above-ground storage tank. We're waiting on the guy that's helping us with that in the concrete to cure. Probably next week, maybe the following week. Set the tank on there. We got concrete blocks. We hold them down from center concrete to put around there and secure it. And hopefully another day with us, and that project should be pretty well wrapped up. We put all the pipes in that were needed on Gingrich Gap. Since next year we're planning on doing a project there. That's taken care of. Sign replacement, I guess it's kind of become an annual thing that we have to do. I sent an email to Bradco, who we usually get our signs from, and they're supposed to get back to me on pricing. Planning on finishing up the roads in town, maybe moving over on to the north side of 45 and some roads to start replacing signs this winter. We got our plow trucks, some of them ready in the past couple weeks when it's been nice in between things. I've talked to Brush Mountain, who usually does our inspections, and the truck that I drive, the Sterling, has been here since I think 2001. I told him to just, more or less keep an eyeball on it. I don't really want to get rid of it, but when it comes to that time, it'd be nice that it's not just it needs to go now. They're thinking in another 3-4 years, we're probably going to be looking for another truck. So just to let you guys know, that's in the future. I'm not saying which way we had, new, used, whatever. That's cross that bridge whenever we come to it, I guess. But just to let you know, that's coming up. Also, we've been talking about a chipper. One of the salesmen contacted me the other day. We went and looked at one at Watson Town Borough. It's a 97. There's 1,200 hours on it. It's got some new parts here and there. It's got some issues. There's one issue with a shaft and pump that I called and nobody got back to me to find the cost on that, but I'm not going to suggest we do anything there at this point. But in the future, I think we should probably look into getting one. Potter Township contacted me a couple days ago. They would like us to do some brush mowing for them in the winter. They estimated 3 to 4 weeks. I said, what would more or less be in it for us in turn? They're looking to trade services or whatnot, and they said they would pay an hourly rate. I just guess I would like you guys' input on what you want to do there. There's going to be one person obviously running the tractor and mower. If we go up and do that, we could make a little bit of money, but on the other hand, that's going to leave 2 guys by themselves, I guess, to find something to do well. So I just want your thoughts on that.
What's the time frame that they want to have the mowing done in?
They just said this winter.
you could mow 3 days and then
Right,
a week and then.
right.
Can you do, well, it's hard to tell when it's gonna start to snow. You probably
Right.
have another month and a half.
We don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know that.
That is when it is, but
Yeah.
You'd be the one running it, right, Brandon?
me or maybe Todd.
Do you have the time, do you feel?
We gotta get, if we're gonna spend the money on Ginger Gap and fix it, we gotta get the trees trimmed on that in between snow, and there's a few other places, a lot of other places I'd like to, if we have a chipper and a lift, to trim the trees, try and, maybe cut down on salt usage and help things out a little bit more. I'm not gonna say 3 or 4 weeks exactly, but
Well, what happens?
they've not exactly been around one of these either to know what you can get done in a day either.
What happens if you start on it and you're unable to complete what they want done? Come back next winter or is that?
I don't know. They didn't, like I said, I talked to Bud and he really didn't give me more than 3 to 4 weeks. And like I said, I asked what was in it more or less for us. Do you want to trade services or, what we were looking for? And they said they were going to pay us. So more or less, the way I gathered it was, if we do go and do this, whatever we get done, I guess we get paid for, and that's that. But I don't know. I just want to know what you guys' thoughts were on that before we go any further.
Well, I mean, I think it's your call. If you think you can do it or help them out, and maybe you can't do it all this winter, but do what you can do. I mean, I'm okay with it. That's my 2 cents.
And we have a dollarly rate, and I forget exactly what that is, from mowing Sinking Creek through the agility program with PennDOT, that we could probably would be a fair rate to use if we would go that route to do that. But like I said, you don't know. It could snow every day. I mean, then you're leaving two guys there, and that's up to you guys, I guess. Whatever you want to do.
I suppose we ought to look at the rate. Do you know what the rate is?
Not off the top of my head exactly. All we gotta do is pull up the agility program file from the office, and we should have a dollarly figure, $1 an hour figure on that.
I would make a motion to go ahead and mow for Potter Township, provided the rate is acceptable and it covers our costs.
And providing you have the time, Brandon. Or want to take your time.
Well, I mean, more or less right now, other than a day or two here and there, hopefully setting up this fuel tank and finishing that. And we got the grader out today and started fixing up some ditches before the winter. We're going to try and do that until it gets crappy out. Potentially at some point. I mean, November 1st we can start putting up snow fence too, so
Yeah.
that's,
Well, why don't I modify the motion and say, and add to the extent that the road crew is able to do it.
do we have time, and, I mean, do you want me to,
We have time and they're fast enough to cover our expenses. And so we don't
Have
to
you
do that.
actually went and looked at it with him?
no, he didn't tell me what roads, he didn't tell me where or
Well,
whatnot.
he's gonna be leaving,
I mean, he's gonna be leaving, so
but.
not to be rude or anything, but it is what it is. I don't think he really, well,
I think if it can be a loose thing where you don't have something going on one day,
Right.
you can.
I mean, personally, I don't want to be tied to it really, like a certain amount of time. If we can do up to this amount at our leisure,
Right.
okay. If we don't get to it, I mean, I don't mind helping out neighbors. I mean,
Why don't you get back in touch with him and state it now?
You're not
I,
gonna be getting to it before our next meeting.
no,
So-
no. I mean, we got enough stuff to do there that we're not
I
gonna
would, I would make a motion that we table it until
That's
next
fine.
meeting
Yeah.
to gather some more.
I thought you wanted to get it back to them.
No, well, I would like to, but, I mean, that's not, I can just tell them that we want,
We're
we want it to
interested
be
in
kinda,
doing it, we just
we're
want everyone.
interested in doing it, but we kinda want it to be open-ended on our end.
And maybe you can get a better idea exactly what it is or how much it is.
Yeah,
And we could look at that rate, and we could talk to them ahead of time to see if that's what they were
right,
leaning towards.
planning. I know they talked before that, about renting a boom mower to trim back some brush and stuff up there, and I know that it's pretty expensive to do that, but it is what it is, so. Lower Georgia Valley Bridge, the deck's poured on that. I haven't been out there within the past week. I think it was last week on a rainy day. I stopped out there and looked, and that was where we were on that. So that is moving forward pretty decent.
Both approaches are also
They are?
poured.
Okay. I haven't been out there, so. I don't really have anything else.
We met with Matt Knapp
Yeah.
about the multimodal transportation grant for Bittner Hollow. In talking with him through that project, we're also going to tie a portion of Middle Road, the back portion of Middle Road, into that grant application as well. And so Matt's working up the numbers for that. He'll actually have them to me Monday. But he said he's estimating the total project for that to be around $700,000, and that's cushioning it. He's hopeful that it would come in under that, and we'd be responsible, obviously, for the 30% of that. And then working through that, we talked about applying then for the Center County Liquid Fuels grant for the Middle Road portion, because it's a small project. It might be likely to get picked up to just fill in some extra money that they have. And then we could actually play that money from Center County Liquid Fuels as part of the match of the 30% for the multimodal grant. So it could be a long shot, but why not try and get them? And then the project doesn't have to be completed for, I believe, 3 years after they award it. So, we can, if we get it, knowing that there's construction going on Bittner Hollow with the new subdivision, it's not like we have to complete the project by next year and then have equipment run on it. So that's where that stands. We have to get the grant applications in within the next couple of weeks.
I guess one of the main reasons why we picked that was there's a bridge / semi-box culvert thing on there, which in the grand scheme of things to replace in this day and age is,
He told me the
Over-
estimate for that was $300,000.
yeah, a couple $100,000
$100,000
to fix the box culvert. If we're gonna do the road, obviously we should make sure that's in decent condition and fixed before we fix the road. And there's a couple culvert pipes on there that require some permits, and they will be more or less a pain in the butt to fix. So if we could get somebody else to do it, why not?
Any questions on that? Anything else for Roadmaster? Unfinished business, underground storage tank. We did have an executive session before this meeting. I need to announce that. We discussed legal matters regarding the underground storage tank. We filed a motion.
We filed a magistrate complaint, actually, seeking the money that was tied up in that contract relationship with Claire Petroleum. And we're also simultaneously in the process of trying to work towards a mutual resolution without having to go to court. So we will be continuing those efforts between now and the next meeting.
Anything else on that? Penns Cave Road turnback proposal is tabled till next meeting. We have not received anything further from PennDOT at this time. Lower Georges Valley Bridge, we gave the update. They are looking to have that open by the end of this month. next item is a motion to file a lien on tool shed lighting property.
Yeah, if you will recall, last month we sent out a letter to Mr. Allman notifying them that a lien would be filed. The purpose of the letter is to provide him with notice to pay under the Municipal Claims Act. If the 30-day notice goes out and there's no response, you can then seek attorney's fees and costs. The letter, the 30 days will be October 16th. So when we talk about filing a lien, I'm going to wait until October 17th, maybe the 18th, I don't know, just to make sure we don't get a response, however unlikely that is. But we're ready to file otherwise.
Any discussion or motion?
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and file a lien on October 17th.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 2-1. New business. I'll entertain a motion for trick or treat to be on October 31st.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. We received a request for an agreement from Constable Grove for services. Any discussion?
At this point, I think we should table that till next time.
I'll second the motion, if that's a motion.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Not right now.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Cato Convention is this month, so we need to know who's going.
I will not be going.
I will not. What's the date on that?
29.
Oh, yeah, you guys are both coming on. I will be attending that.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, the 29th.
Correct.
We received a resignation letter from one of our auditors, Steve McZuba, who moved out of the area. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the resignation letter.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second the motion.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. So for next meeting, we should have who we're going to appoint to fill that position.
Who's appointed now? Steve Black.
Steve Black and Tom. Just an update on the internet, high-speed internet. I met with Center West last week. They are interested in servicing the area more, and I talked to them about how most of the broadband companies are only looking at the clusters of homes, which, I mean, we can get access to internet here in the village, but it's the people that live out further that aren't able to get it. So they're interested, right now they're working on finding ways to go around all the bends and hills and topography of Gregg Township. So anybody who does not have access to high-speed internet, they asked me to send some addresses, and they will try and work with some residents to see if we can eliminate some of those issues. So it's not a solve everything, and it might not necessarily work, but I think it's worth an effort. So if you want to get your address to me, if that's one of you, or if you know somebody else in Gregg Township who does not have access to high-speed internet, so I can get those to them. I called.
I'm sorry, are they talking fiber optic?
No, this is
Just digital.
this is a point-to-point.
Okay.
Yeah. They won the 911 tower bid, so they operate off of those. I think they're installing another tower on Tussey Mountain and some other things. So, it's more of a kind of immediate this year thing. I talked to Comcast. They are resubmitting a request to view this area again. Again, the discussion was mostly about the clusters of homes, but if we can get what the cost is to build out further, that'll at least give us something else to go with there. But even with those, you're looking at years down the road before they're here. Same with Atlantic Broadband, who's talking about coming to the other end of the valley. They still don't really have an interest in coming this far to Gregg Township with Atlantic Broadband, but we're keeping in communication there. So at least people are talking again. These big companies are looking at the option of branching out here, so we'll see where that goes.
Is that on the website, a request for addresses of people who are interested?
No, I don't want every single resident of Gregg Township to send their address because it's just not feasible. So if I can just collect a few to get them started and go from there. So
Lisp is our best hope. I mean, the closest out there in the future.
Right,
The
that's the
the
most
turnaround
likely
time
within
for
the
Lisp
next
is
year.
shorter than any other possibility, although they may not be able to service everybody.
anything else for the good of the order? We will have the budget meetings November 6th and 7th. They are advertised. And then the next regular Board of Supervisors meeting is the 14th. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
And we'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, that's.
For you.
Dave, you go from there. The guy we've been working with, type things. He's more involved in the travel thing than. He said he would love to talk to you.
Where's the paper for addresses?
If you want to give it to me, that's fine.
Because I heard they were at Penn's Cable, so let's get closer.
Yeah.
The way they operate, they're
Oh,
operating
no,
under.
yeah, I would just schedule that and we'll advertise.
Do what they would like. He's pretty much done books.
I'm trying to get the,
I know, I was bringing those out. What else do
Okay,
they need
I'm not
besides
gonna judge
that?
that because I'm.
do you have an email address?
So
Well, that's what they wanted, so they could test them as
I would
well.
talk to PCA.
this is the problem.
That's why I'm
Maybe I
trying to
would
get
talk to
this
them
other
and
thing
see,
up
because they
and
seem like to
running.
start
I'm back
town.
on
They would be the most likely to talk.
That's how bad it is.
That town messaging, where they send you, that's the thing you're trying to do there. Because what they'll do is they'll send you.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. Okay, but this, hey, if we can check and see if it's in here, I knew they were just near Penn's
Yeah,
Cable.
try to remind me of that.
Because one of the workers texted
Try to remember.
me, and I was like, oh, they just need to come a little further.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember when you said that at the townwide meeting, and we were discussing this, and I said, well, maybe this is something we can do. Gary's like, yes.
We do, I mean, our kids are at a disadvantage.
Oh, she's fighting with everybody trying to get it.
I mean, this, even the high school thinks everybody has it, we don't. We cannot do homework without it.
They were talking about the one hole.
I'm the one who's in Union County, and I think we're doing really well.
Right.
No.
It's hard.
Yeah, I fully understand.
Right.
I'm Mr. Joel.
Hopefully.
You get a certain percentage.
One day at a time, right?
I'm hanging in there.
You behaving?
Using a lot of liquid.
Thank you.
I'm using a lot of liquid.
Are you?
I
Is
got
it
a big
working
bottle.
for you?
Oh, yeah, it's the only thing I have at work.
You know, so
I'm going to the pain center here toward the end of the month.
If you talk to
But
him, he's a pretty straight
it's
shooter
gotten
guy.
worse, now I've gone back and pain pills again.
He'll bring
But,
up the feet
no, from here right down across from here, and I have this cyst on my eyelid, and that's starting to, like, burn
Are you
more
getting,
stuff.
what's it called?
Okay, yeah, I'm
What's it
gonna,
called?
I have to go to a.
On the scan, you know what I mean? I can't think of the name of it.
By the time I
I'm not sure what you mean.
They say it's really painful.
Yeah, I'll text him and let him know you're gonna get a
Well, this, when you talk about this,
No, that, sometimes you can get it on your head or,
Right,
oh, I can't think of it.
How have you been?
It all seems to be interesting. I mean, I rub this instrument into it. When I get mad at it, I want to do with my fingernails to make it go in better, and I know that's not
Just
right.
lay it on. Take soap with wine and just lay it there.
I don't know what that is.
And on the Listerine, with
Oh,
your Listerine,
oh, yeah,
just lay it there.
I don't know what our.
Don't rub it in, just lay it there.
Lay it there.
I can kind of
Lay your paw.
Okay.
And lay it on the spot.
I gotta be careful I don't get too much, I just get my eye.
Yeah, you don't want, I mean, you want to get it wet, but
Yeah, I know, there's a happy medium.
Yeah, you don't want to have it.
No, but I'm gonna see about getting this cyst off too, because it is more tender than my eye.
Yeah, I would
My eye shows
definitely.
burn a little bit, and I can't really get rid of that.
No.
You just gotta get eye drops and
Just see, I mean, like this.
flush it out, really.
Then you're gonna have to probably.
You're just not having a good time, are you?
I'm not having.
Some of these other things that actually.
But we're,